Hello everyone, Thundersmith here, welcome to the Gaming Nexus. Today's video is introduction to the Derail Valley. It's a simulation game about trains. First, I wanted to create a showcase of this game, but later on I found out that it's, well, quite confusing when I'm not showing the locomotive beforehand. So this is just the first part of the showcase where I'm presenting you all the available locomotives and I'll tell you a few words about them. And in the second part I'll be showing how you complete missions in this game. So let's hope you will find it interesting, and if you've seen this part and want to go directly to the second part, visit link in the description. So first, let's take a look at vehicle catalog. Oops, wrong page, let me quickly fix that. Here we can see locomotive name. Here we can see locomotive rating, so how much load we can pull. This is on flat dry rails, this is on dry incline, and this one is on wet incline. Always look at this one, because it's the most important, and I guarantee you, if you don't look at that one, you will fail at your hull at some point, because it will start raining and you'll just get stuck. So look at that one. And here we have all the remaining info, how easy it is to learn the locomotive and how easy it is to drive it. So let's use a few moments to look through all the locomotives. By the way, there are many different locomotives, but we can split them into I think 3 groups. We have diesel electric locomotives, so with diesel engine and electric track motors. It's a small shunter and big locomotive, the 6 I think. We have steam locomotives, so it is this one as something, and the big one, I'll show them in a moment. And we have mechanical locomotives, it's DE6, DM3 and DM6, oh yeah. So those are mechanical, and each pair of the locomotives has something in common. I'll tell more about it in a second. For now, let's look through other locomotives that we can see in the vehicle catalog. This one, it's an exception. It's fully electrical locomotive, available only after you buy a key to special garage, found the garage and open it. Then you can get Microshunter as your vehicle. It's very small locomotive to like pull other locomotives and connect them to the cargo. Drezine is a special vehicle available via radio that allows you to move between stations without paying for that, because Drezine doesn't need any maintenance. Later on I'll spawn the Drezine and show it to you. Caboose is a special card available also as a Microshunter after unlocking in a garage. It is always visible on map and it allows you to sleep, buy licenses and increases radio range when using remote control. So let's get started. Behind me there are locomotives I prepared beforehand. They are unique because those are demonstrator locomotives. They are unique because they have unique paint job and you own them. Because in this game you own only few vehicles, but you can borrow vehicles from the stations. More about that in the second part. Let's start from the small locomotive. This is Shunter DE2. It's diesel electric locomotive. We told about it earlier. You can very often meet it in the wild, but it's yellow. Each of these locomotives can be found in the stations on storage tracks. So yeah, you can meet them, and I'm going to show you that it's not just my locomotives, they just are on the stations. So yeah, we can see yellow Shunter there. Let's get back to the museum. This locomotive has two pair of doors. One is on this side, in the back. Let's open that one. And the other is on the other side of the locomotive, in the front, right here. Let's open that. Let's get in. And before us, let's close the door. Before us we can see all the different things. This is handbrake. It is used to handbrake locomotive. This is closed and this is open. It's not very visible. Here we have electrical panel with all the switches. There are electronics, starter, track motors, cab lights and the starter itself. So this is starter itself. Below we have electrics for the starter. So electrics for the starter need to be turned on for this starter to start the engine. Here we have brakes, individual brake and train brake. Individual brake acts only on the locomotive axles, so it does not stop the whole train, it only brakes by the locomotive. It can stop the train, but using only locomotive brakes. Now it's open. Now it's closed. Here we have train brake. train brake is used to control brakes also in the carts. For brakes in the carts to work, there needs to be pressure in the system. This valve decides whether this locomotive controls the pressure in the brake system or not. Right now it's closed, so this locomotive does not control pressure in the system. So moving this does nothing. Right now I opened it and we can hear that the brakes are working. Let me close that. Here we have throttle. Throttle is a little bit strange because it's inversed. Pulling throttle towards yourself increases throttle, and pushing throttle away from yourself causes it to be decreased. This is reverser. Reverser decides which direction you're driving. This is backwards, this is forward. And here we have all the different switches. Cab fan, lights, front and rear, cab lights and so on. Even horn. That's not working because there is no electricity. So we have green light showing that electrics is either on or on off. Light that indicates that something wrong with track motors. Fuel cutoff button. It's used to stop the engine. Wheel slip light. When it's blinking, it means your wheels are slipping. Sander. You can only turn it on and off in this locomotive. And we have brake pipe. It is pressure in the brakes itself. Red arrow shows pressure in the brakes, in the braking system. If it's on 0, the brakes are open. Right now brakes are closed, so we can't drive. And it will go to 0 once we release the brakes. This is main pressure tank. Compressor fills the pressure tank to keep the system topped up, and this pressure is used to open brakes in the whole train. So the longer the train, the more pressure is used. You need to take this into account when braking. Of course we have oil, fuel, sand meters, so we are using resources. Here we have ammeter. It shows currently flowing through the track motors. We can also see tachometer and track motor temperature. Here tachometer. It shows us RPMs of our diesel engine. And track motors temperature. You don't want to over exceed 90 degrees because it damages track motors. And the speedometer showing speed in kilometers per hour. Most of the locomotives have very similar dials, so it's not really necessary to talk about them a lot. So let's see another locomotive that is diesel electric. It's this DSX 860. It's quite big. Here handbrake is on the side of the locomotive, not inside, so it's necessary to take it into account. What is unique in this locomotive? The engine with the starter is hidden here. Whole engine and the starter. So you need to get out of the cabin to start the engine in this locomotive. Here are breakers, as you can see. And we have starter and track motors and also whole electric panel with the big switch. Let's take a look at the controls. Here we have pressure meters, switches for the lights inside, horn, again different dials. Here we can turn on lights. Here we have train brake, individual brake, brake cutoff, fuel cutoff, track motors, throttle, wheel slip. This is something new. This locomotive includes dynamic brake. It uses engine to brake the locomotive. Here we have reverser. And that's all. Next on, mechanical locomotives. So we have this one. That was loud. So yeah, here we have full lot of switches. Let me turn on electrics and let me turn on lights in the cabin because we can't see a thing. So this is electric switch, this is starter switch, this is electrics for starter, and this is starter itself. Here we have again oil, brake pipe, main residue. The red light is blinking, probably because something is wrong with the brake pipe in this locomotive. I think we can fix that by opening the brake valve, brake cutoff valve. Let's check that theory. It looks like it's open, but it's closed. Now it's open, but the light is not disappearing, so something is wrong. Besides, we can hear that pressure is running away. By the way, handbrake. So let's see. Not in the back. No, it's closed. In the front. Yeah, it's open. Let's close that. Now the pressure is not escaping. So let's get back inside. Let us see. Yeah, the light is not blinking. Everything's fine. So let me close the valve. And right now the light is blinking because we can't control the brakes using this locomotive. Here we have if thunder is on, if wheel slip is occurring, dash light, cab light, wipers, different lights, both front and rear. Here type of light, I don't know exactly what it does. Again, sand level, fuel level, speedometer, fuel cutoff, engine brake, train brake, throttle, reverser, individual brake, thunder control, horn, and gearboxes. What is unique for this locomotive? It is mechanical, so here we can see plug with the gears, and the position of the two levers above is deciding which gear we're driving, like in the car with manual transmission. You need to have your throttle at 0 to switch gears without damaging your drivetrain. If you have your throttle higher than 0 and you switch gears, you will damage the drivetrain. So be aware of that, about that. Here we have second mechanical locomotive. This one has automatic gearbox, so we don't need to worry about the gearbox. It will switch the gears itself. Here we have breakers with start and electrics. Let's turn that on. Again, handbrake in the back. And again, here we have all different kind of dials. Here we can turn on cab lights. Let's do that. To set all the different switches, you're using very simple controls. It's mouse wheel, so you point to the control you want to use and turn your mouse wheel, or click your first left mouse button, or you can use keyboard shortcuts if you want to use keyboard for control to not take your eyes off the road. Very useful. So again, I cycled the brakes, tachometer, speedometer, everything as it was in a previous mechanical locomotive. Only difference is we don't need to switch gears manually. Now the hardest part, steam locomotives. So first thing first, it's important to know about the steam locomotives. Let me grab some light. So here is this little red thing. It's very important to take notice of it. If you're starting this locomotive up, it will be empty. There are 3 on each side, so 1 in the back and 2 in the front. And you need to manually fill them with oil using the oiler. Again, 3 on the right side. It is important to notice also, on the right side is lubricator. It passes oil into all different systems of the locomotive. During the drive it works automatically, but you need to start it using the lever. So remember to turn it a few times before you drive your locomotive, otherwise the wheels will not be lubricated and they will screech. In the steam locomotives, systems are a bit different because both dynamo and compressor are powered by steam, so we need to open the valve on the dynamo and open the valve on the compressor. Otherwise you will have no pressure in the brakes if you leave compressor closed, and also you will have no power electrical power if you leave the dynamo off, so keep it in mind. In the back we can see coal, here we have water. Let me open that. It's super dark, so it's not very visible, but it's there. This doesn't want to close. Okay, let's see inside. So we have mostly the same dials. Here we have handbrake. I'm looking for for this little shelf to place my lantern. This is regulator. Here we have something new. Here we have blowdown. It releases steam from the boiler down below the wheels. So it is used to empty the boiler out of steam. And here we have blower. It is used to increase the temperature of the fire by using steam. Here we have fire temperature. This is also new. Here we have pressure in the boiler. It is pressure in the main chamber of the locomotive. This chamber supplies chest. Chest is the part of the locomotive that contains steam that actually works in the clocks, and the regulator passes steam from the boiler to the chest. Here we have sand meter and sander setting. This is reverser. It's counterintuitive because in this locomotive how far it goes decided how fast you go, so you have to move it in the correct position. This is the most important lever in the whole locomotive. It opens and closes the cylinders to release amount of water that gathers when they cool down. Because they are small, they can easily decrease in temperature during the ride and collect water. And because water is not squeezable, it can damage them, blow them up totally. So you need to take care of this lever, and always remember, if you were driving for a long time without passing steam to the cylinders, you need to first release the water. I personally like to keep it open if I'm not actually increasing my speed, so if I'm not adding steam to the cylinders, I like to keep it open. So here we have coal, again handbrake. In these locomotives you actually need to put coal in the fire box. So let's see the firebox. Here it is. Here we can see inside of the firebox. So to operate this locomotive you need to buy, this is coal dump. So if you want to get rid of the coal, this is dumper. Dumper, as the name suggests, dumps how fast fire is burning. So the more open the dumper, the slower the fire. I don't know how that works, but it works. Again, different wipers, different bells and whistles. And even cab lights, but only in this one, because this one has this little light bulb. Let's see the big one. So here we can see that it has its own trailer with water and coal. Here we can even see some water. This locomotive does not support electric light. Well, it has dynamo, but for some reason it does not include any way of lighting up your cabin. So let me use all three of my lanterns to just light up it a bit, because we want to see something. So let me set up the lanterns quickly. Here is important thing that I didn't mention earlier. It's level of water. Here you can see that the water is about half, and this inserter allows to input water into the boiler. You need to keep the water topped up, but not too high, because if you overdo it, then water flows from the boiler directly to the cylinders and you can damage them. And if you have too much water in the boiler, you need to keep your cylinders open, because there's always water in them and you don't want to blow them up, because once the cylinders are blown up, this locomotive is totally useless. Again, big locomotive, as the same as small locomotive, has three these little pieces for the oil and the lubricator on the front right side. The dynamo and compressor are placed differently, so let me show you. Let me just jump up here. Yes, and here we can see it is compressor. Again, we can turn it on and off. And up there in the back, here we can see dynamo, and we can turn it on and off also. Here's the firebox. Here's the brake cutout and dampener. And that's all about all the different locomotives that are available on stations. For each locomotive, except of the little shunter I shown in the beginning, you need a separate license to operate. So let's see another vehicles. This is the Caboose I was talking about earlier. You can unlock it in a garage and it is always visible on map. It also contains Career Manager inside. If you want to know more about Career Manager, I'm talking about it in the second part. There's also, as you can see, many places for storage of items. Here Career Manager. Here we have charger for flashlight and remote control pilot, and a trash bin. Here we can see Microshunter. It's this little locomotive to move other locomotives. It's fully electric, so here we have only electrics and track motors, nothing more. The battery and only electric. So track motor temperature and a meter. Yeah, and funny little horn sounding exactly like in the car. Here we have utility vehicle. It's something to bring parts of the locomotives back from the machine factory. More about the station in the second part. And again, starter electrics. Let's turn on the light. They are on. Yeah. These different little switches like cab fan, cab heater and so on right now have no use. I don't know why they're included and what they do. Maybe just for the immersion. So let me say a few more words about also inventory. So you see, yeah, like you've seen, player have inventory and quick bar. Quick bar is accessible under the tab button. By default, inventory is under caps lock, but I mapped it into the Z letter because I don't like using caps lock for games. And everything you've seen in my inventory, besides comms radio, maps and vehicle catalog, you need to buy. So let's go through the locomotives. It's TA2 480 called Shunter. This little small steam locomotive is SO60440. Here, this one is TM3 540. As you can see, load rating is increasing. Here we have DH4 670. Again, increase in load rating. Big steam locomotive, this one is S2H2 7330A. It also includes tender. DE6 860 is this big boy. And as we've seen, Microshunter, tragically low load rating. And again, handcar. Let me spawn it quickly. Maybe here. So yeah, you can spawn it for free and you can despawn it for free. And you can use it to drive around without using resources. Only by spamming two buttons in one then another. So it's T and G on your keyboard. T increases throttle in the normal locomotive, G decreases throttle in normal locomotive. But here, you just drive with them. So, that's all. See you in part 2.